Hey guys, I'm just gonna wait because I think I have to give it a moment to actually set up. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Oh, I got a notification that I went live. Hey everybody, Lynn here. And I'm gonna give it just a minute to see if anybody joins me live. But if you are joining me on the replay, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. And you may have been intrigued by the title of this video because I actually have kind of a huge pet peeve about this like charging hourly, what I'm going to call a movement in the grooming industry. It's really popular lately in terms of, it's along the same lines as charge what you're worth. And then we've got charging hourly. And to be honest, charging hourly can be some of the best things, but it can also be kind of some of the worst things. And I'm going to go into what that means. Give me just one moment to just double check something. Okay, perfect. Okay, so charging hourly can be the best and it can be the worst. So setting your prices based on time is great. However, telling clients that you charge by the hour is not. I prefer looking at what I refer to as the scope of work. So it's not strictly based on time, because as we all know, an hour spent on a large overweight pet who is overdue for grooming is very different than an hour spent on a well-behaved pet that's getting a maintenance groom. But the worst part about charging by the hour, again, is telling a client that you charge by the hour. It can really cause a lot of confusion for clients because they don't know how long the groom is going to take. Because think about it, they either have never used a groomer before, or they're comparing your business to a previous salon or mobile groomer or house call, or they went to the vet, or they went to one of the big box stores that they visited, and that business may have a very different process than you. So a salon that's going, start to finish, straight through, one pet at a time, is going to be a very different time schedule than someone who drops off and maybe it's a few hours before their pet can pick up. So unless they have come to you before and they know exactly how long their pet takes, it's not really giving them a lot of information by telling the client that you charge by the hour, because they don't know how long it's going to take. So that doesn't give them a good estimation. Also, it means that the client doesn't understand what the upper limits of the grooming price could be. And the words starting at also don't give an accurate description either, because it mentions nothing about what the higher price range of the pet if they're overdue for grooming. So you can see kind of where some clients get confused when they're quoted the hourly rate, or they're told that, it starts at a certain place, but then they never get that higher end. Well, how much could this possibly be? So regardless of if someone has a lower budget or a mid-range budget or a high budget, they still need to make sure that you're within that budget and what the upper limit might be. And technically, people will actually pay more for something that they call price certainty. This is where they're actually sure of that price range that the service they want is going to fall into. So instead of wondering what the price could be, will it be too high? Will it include the things that they're expecting? When you say that you're charging hourly, you, the service provider, the groomer, you're incentivized to work longer, right? Because the longer we groom on an hourly rate, the more money the ticket is. But the client is incentivized to want you to work in less time. So the bottom line is that it actually pits you and your client against each other when you tell them that you charge hourly. So the bigger issue that actually needs to be solved is, what is a better way to communicate your price to your clients? So on the business side, kind of the back end, you should absolutely consider time when you figure out your pricing structure, because the customer needs more information that is relevant to them. And so what I refer to as what's in it for me, right? The client is always going to want to know, well, what's in it for me? What does it come with? And then how much is this going to cost me? So you always want to make sure that you are communicating pricing simply to the client, right? We don't want a very complicated, extravagant pricing structure. We need to make sure that when we describe it to someone that they can understand it within a couple sentences. You also should estimate a range, including what the upper limit of the appointment fee will be. So when I get cats, because I only groom cats, and a client is telling me that their pet is matted, or that they're, based on our conversation, I think that they might have some mats, I will tell them that my mat removal charges range from $150 to $250 based on the services that are required, and that I will assess their pet when they drop off. It gives me a chance to go over the body. I can see how severe it is. I can see how the pet is reacting to being touched, and that will give me a better estimation of the scope of work so that I can give them a more firm estimation at that time. And if it's still a range, so if they come in and so let's say like I don't charge based on aggression. So if the pet is more difficult, I may limit their service options, but I don't charge additional fees for like handling. But if you do, or if you charge more for fleas or something like that, where the pricing could change based on in the middle of grooming, then you just have to say that. You just have to tell them that these are the things that could affect the pricing. Well, the pricing for my average Shih Tzu is between 65 to 75, but I won't know until I get working with your pet, and it's based, the upper limit is based on how your pet responds to grooming, and I'll be able to give you a firm price once I've worked with them, but it would be in that 65 to 75 range, because I guarantee there's almost no situation where a Shih Tzu would come into your salon and you're charging over a certain amount, right? What is your upper limit? And that needs to be explained to the client, as well as what factors would affect the price in order for it to get to that point. Okay, does that make sense? So again, I offer to confirm the price with them before I do anything. So before they've left, I always want to assess the pet in front of them. I really want to get a good feel for, where I think this groom might kind of fall in terms of price range. Because again, I'm all about ranges. I'm on it, but I always want to make sure the client understands what are those factors that are going to make the price go up. And so even if I tell them that, just because this is what happens on the first groom doesn't mean that this is going to be every additional groom, but it's really important to make sure that from the client's perspective, we need to make it easy for them to say yes to you because you're in the price budget that they have set, whether they know it or not. Some clients, they're kind of like, whatever you decide is fine. But there might be an upper limit where they're comfortable. And if I tell them, look, my matted price removal is between 150 to 250, if they're not coming in being okay with the upper limit, the 250, then telling them that ahead of time usually gives them an opportunity to be like, whoa, like that's way too high. And then I can tell them, I completely understand. That is really when, the pet is matted all over, and I'll be able to tell as soon as you come in for their appointment where your pricing will fall. And that tends to give them some kind of relief in terms of that price certainty again, like I mentioned, where they're getting a better idea of what that type of groom will cost them at that time. So again, make it easy for them to say yes, and then it also cuts down on the opportunities for there to be miscommunication between you and any potential client, right? Because we don't want, how many times, I can't tell you, that I've seen, groomers complaining about negative reviews because the client is like, oh my God, they were way more expensive than I thought they would be when they had a matted pet. And I'm not saying you shouldn't charge more for matted pets, you absolutely should, but you got to explain that to the client, what that price range is, especially the upper limit. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. I can see some of you joining me, but for some reason, comments are not showing up. So if you're saying hi, hello, and I will see the comments later. And don't forget, if you're into cat grooming, which if you're following me, you probably are, we're going to be announcing the registration for the Badass Cat Groomers Conference later. Actually next week, a week from now, April 14th, it's opening up, and the conference is July 11th to 13th. I cannot wait. So I will see you guys later. Have a good night. Bye.